Hey everyone, today is the last day of Gamescom and as you can see I'm wrapping things up here. Currently I'm in my hotel just outside Cologne where I got to spend the last few days getting a taste of some of the great and ambitious games that we have to look forward to, and I got to talk to some of the amazing people that are making these games possible. Not only do we have a lot of amazing indie titles getting a tremendous amount of love and attention, but we also have some great AAA titles to look forward to that are making their way towards their respective release dates, and not just original IPs but also a couple of established series getting a sequel. So in the last few hours remaining here in Cologne, and I think I need to hurry because I can hear the housekeeping crew already cleaning and vacuuming the adjacent rooms. They're probably thinking, what is this guy doing in his room talking to himself? So without further ado, let's look at some of the great games we got to see at Gamescom. Dawn of War is back. Prepare to enjoy hours of chaotic and brutal fights between the Bloodraven Space Marine chapter and the enemies of the Imperium once more, with Dawn of War 4 having been announced and expected for release somewhere in 2026. A big surprise during opening night live, this new chapter in the highly praised franchise seeks to combine all the ingredients that were great about its predecessors in this new title. King Art Games, the studio that also developed 2020's RTS Iron Harvest, says not only will this be the biggest Dawn of War launch ever, with over 70 missions spread out over 4 playable races, with each offering lots of upgradable units and buildings, it will also give you that undeniable Warhammer 40k gameplay experience with huge battles, base building and resource management in any of the 4 campaigns or the different game modes such as skirmish, multiplayer and the last stand. Also, the sync kill system will make sure combat looks dynamic with a large number of unique animations to enjoy as your units go face to face with the enemy. And for the first time in a Warhammer 40k RTS, you will be able to play as the Adeptus Mechanicus, which is going to be really interesting to see how they play as a faction. More news on Dawn of War 4 will follow soon. Next up we have Cronos: The New Dawn, a third-person survival horror game which offers a unique mix of combat and puzzle solving, all coming together as part of a storyline that leaves you wondering what's next. Development studio Bloober Team has created an original IP with Cronos, and their years of experience within the genre through titles such as Blair Witch, The Medium and Silent Hill 2 clearly pays off, as you can see, with a graphically impressive game that seems to aim at conjuring up this sense of wonder and tension at the same time. You'll play as the suited protagonist called the Traveler, slowly making your way through an apocalyptic version of the polis city of Krakow in search for time rifts to find out what caused the world to go up in flames. The survival part comes from having to make smart use of what little resources and ammo you have at your disposal. The game offers small environmental puzzles to solve in order to progress through buildings and areas, and this is where the horror part kicks in because along the way you'll encounter hideously deformed creatures. Taking inspiration from the 1980s movie classic The Thing, they can merge into larger threats unless properly taken care of, preferably by killing it with fire. The combat is defined by its pacing, which is slower than most modern action-adventure games, because ammo and supplies are scarce, meaning each encounter is a trade-off between being efficient and not dying. Cronos: The New Dawn is already available for pre-order and will release September 5th for PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and the Nintendo Switch 2. This next game needs no introduction for anyone who loves to wander around in medieval Bohemia. Warhorse Studios' KCD2 will be getting its second DLC released on September 9 in 2 weeks. Legacy of the Forge is a major story expansion centered around Henry and his bond with his adoptive father Martin, who spent some time in his early career at a now derelict forge in Kuttenberg. Aside from a large amount of new story content that explores more of Martin's past as a blacksmith's apprentice, you get to rebuild not just the forge itself, but also the immediate area around it and your own private quarters, all of which is customizable cosmetically. Other gameplay features will be added, such as having the ability to craft new weapons, indirectly craft armor, and sell off your crafted goods through an automated system. This offers a way for players to have their own unique house in the game to customize as they see fit, and it's all part of new story-driven quests, all of which of course have the same level of attention to narrative and gameplay quality that we've seen in the standard version of the game, and the first DLC brushes with death. I'll be uploading a more detailed insight into the DLC this week based on the time I had with it at Gamescom, so make sure to stay tuned for that here on the channel if KCD2 is a game for you. Launched 25 years ago, the RTS series Sudden Strike will once more take us back to World War II with its 5th installment set to release somewhere in 2026. Developed by Kite Games, also responsible for Sudden Strike 4, this newest chapter will focus on giving players a modern-day version of the Sudden Strike gameplay with lots of flexibility in playstyle. This is on one hand thanks to the Commander system, where you get to choose an historical character, each with its own skills and traits to fit your playstyle. On the other hand, you get to choose your own approach on how to accomplish each mission by capturing strategic points across the map that will allow you to bring in reinforcements and of course deny the enemy of its own. With more than 300 authentic units and a single-player campaign featuring 25 missions, Sudden Strike 5 seems to offer plenty of hours of strategic gameplay to look forward to. Next on the list is a game that's also choosing a less common approach, and that's Crimson Desert, an open-world action-adventure game. And it's less common because it features a very deep combat system with lots of combos that is usually more seen in traditional action games where combos are everything. You'll also have lots of different weapons at your disposal, from regular weapons such as swords, axes and polearms to magic powers. This combination comes from the idea of letting players have a lot of options and flexibility on how to approach combat. And despite seemingly having a focus on combat, where you'd expect the game to force you to fight your way through hordes of enemies, players do have the chance to literally skip smaller mobs of enemies by riding a horse, using your powers for traversal, or even by riding a dragon. Implementing this sense of having a grand scale always offers a challenge to studios to try and marry ambitious gameplay ideas with technical performance. But developer Pearl Abyss decided to build their own engine called Black Space to meet this challenge head-on and have full in-house control over it during and after development. The game also features a large open world to explore with lots of different side quests and mini-games such as cooking and fishing amongst others, so players will be able to alternate between exploration at their own pace or following the storyline. The story is still being kept under wraps, so not much is known about it other than that you play as Cliff, the leader of a group of mercenaries, so that's something to discover for yourself when the game comes out somewhere in the first quarter of 2026. Closer to release is Anno 117 Pax Romana, part of the long-running Anno series with a huge fan following. The famous city builder is now set in ancient Rome with all of the decor and set pieces you'd expect from that time. Obviously, one of the less gameplay-like but nonetheless crucial parts of the series is how it looks, being famous for the detailed level design. Ubisoft has said Anno 117 includes some of the most advanced technical features to really bring the game to life, such as a day and night cycle turning your sun-baked city into a sea of lights by night. But of course, the core of the game comes from building, managing and expanding your empire. The research system has been reworked, now relying on libraries and population. Patron gods will provide island-wide buffs, and what has players really excited, roads can now be placed at a 45-degree angle. Now, if you've never played Anno before, you might be thinking, but it's just a road. Well, roads are really important in any city builder, and being able to place them in anything but a box layout will allow for a lot more different designs, which can also just look prettier. The best horror movies start out with a peaceful setting to give you a false sense of security until a sudden event occurs which introduces some unease, and things start going downhill from there. Directive 8020 is trying to capture that same silver screen magic and translate it to your console or PC at home. The crew of a colony ship is faced with a huge accident on board. Needless to say, it's not long before they discover something on board that will change their entire mission. The game features a multi-linear plot and is a true example of a game where decisions made by the player will alter your experience with it. decisions matter. As you get to switch between 5 playable protagonists, you get to unravel a story divided into 8 episodes, each one roughly accounting for 1 hour of playtime. And it might seem really short, but Directive 8020 has a feature called Turning Points. Because the focus lies on narrative and evoking emotions from players, you will encounter moments in the story where you will feel like you would have wanted to have seen a different result from a certain situation. The Turning Points feature lets you go back after having completed a certain checkpoint in the story where something impactful happens, so you get to try out different narrative paths. You can also expect some tense real-time stealth elements, perhaps somewhat similar to Alien Isolation, where you need to avoid enemies. This overall design is further enriched by various accessibility options, such as a save mode for players that are not too keen on dying during stealth parts, and multiple difficulty levels and options within them so players can fine-tune the experience to their liking. Directive 8020 is being developed for PC, PS5 and Xbox Series X and S and is expected to release in 2026. 2018's Warhammer Mechanicus by Bulwark Studios was a big hit amongst turn-based tactics fans with a 7.9 Metacritic score overall and even a 92% rating on Steam. The sequel will see players continue the fight of the Adeptus Mechanicus against the Necrons, only this time around the Necrons will also be a playable race, so you get to experience the conflict from both sides of the aisle. This immediately shows Mechanicus II is looking to take things to the next level, proof further by having deeper squad management and customization options as well as improved combat mechanics. I also got the chance to talk to one of the game's senior producers at Gamescom, and you can really tell that not only is Bulwark trying to improve the game on a mechanical level, they're also working really hard at providing an equal level of narrative immersion by working with Ben Counter, a well-known author in the world of Warhammer 40k books. Of course, we are talking about Warhammer 40k here, an old and coveted IP from Games Workshop, so you'll see lots of tie-ins with the tabletop game and how it translates to gameplay, plus all of the lore of course will be present. Mechanicus 2 is expected to release somewhere in 2026. Exploring deep space is no easy mission, with the long journey back to the Alpha Quadrant full of dangers and dilemmas. Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown gives you the chance to see just how challenging it can be with this newly announced strategy game. Developer GameXI describes it as a crossover between Faster Than Light and Frostpunk, where you have to manage the ship itself and its crew as you're finding your way through 12 different sectors. The game offers base building with rooms that can be upgraded and dismantled, technologies that can be researched and upgraded, but also space combat and, of course, the hallmark away missions, where you are faced with typical Star Trek moral dilemmas that will have a changing impact on the story's progression and on your crew. The crew as such is at the game's core and influences your performance in combat and on missions, each member with different stats and abilities. An interesting twist is the what-if element, provided by being able to try out alternative timelines with famous crew members walking a different path than what you might know from the TV series. Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown is being developed for PC, PS5 and Xbox Series X and S with no specific release window made public at the time of recording. And in similar fashion like the future game show, the last entry of this list is Jump Space, a multiplayer co-op game set in space where you have to complete a string of missions in the crew consisting of you and 3 others before reaping the rewards and being able to upgrade and progress further. Jump Space, formerly known as Jump Ship, was announced in 2024 and has since then developed a huge following of over 1 million wishlists. Developer Keepsake Games issued a demo during the most recent Steam Snacks Fest, which was wildly popular. The game features being able to seamlessly go from manning any of several roles aboard your ship. For example, you need a pilot, a gunner, and at least one person to maintain the ship during combat, but you can also simply walk outside on the hull of your ship whilst flying in space. And from there you can even jetpack into space and explore mission-specific targets. There's also a well-designed way for players to move across the outside of your ship and between your ship and ground locations by using a grappling hook that will automatically reel you in. This also allows you to board enemy ships and loot them for ship components which can be used during your run to enhance its performance or that of your crew. Keepsake Games will be releasing Jump Space in early access on September 19 for PC, with an Xbox Series X and S date still to be determined. Well, as you can see, I left my room and I'm now here to share this view with you, because I feel it's poetic in a sense. With the city of Cologne over there and Gamescom 2025 now behind us, we have a lot of exciting games ahead of us, and not just the ones from this list. Of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the ones you've seen just now, so drop me a comment down below, let me know what you think of them, and I will be sharing more details in upcoming videos, so subscribe if you aren't already. But for now, basically that being said, that's it for me here in Cologne. And in addition to exciting games, I have a 4-hour car ride ahead of me, which I'm not really looking forward to per se, but I really have to get going. So thank you guys for watching, I appreciate it, and see you next time here on the channel. Bye guys.